my turn. Here we go. How he said he living life as a gringo. Where you question where you fit and every time you mingle. They say you do this with not enough that. My rapping is really bad. This life as a gringo.
Yes, hello and welcome to another episode of Life as a Gringo. I am Dramos, of course, and man, today is an exciting day, y'all. Not to be too self-promoting, but fuck it, I work hard for this. My book, Just Be, the pre-order has officially dropped. It is available, justbe.nyc. That is the website. You don't need the .com, justbe.nyc. Man, I'm really excited about this project, and I think it's special because it's challenging myself to do something, I don't know, that makes me uncomfortable, right? And I think I've made it kind of a habit to do that, but taking on a project like this one, writing it, designing it, it using, man, personal journal entries, my thoughts on life, me at my most vulnerable, as well as, my photography, which has just been a habit, which has just been like a hobby of mine, right? My film photography. I'm combining all of my interests in this one thing with the goal of bringing people together and making people feel a little less alone. And I think, we touched on that a bit in the, finding your why episode where I discussed that a bit. And for me, it's always my community is at the center of everything that I do, right? And obviously, and that goes beyond just, Latinos necessarily, right? Obviously, that's who I'm fighting for and always advocating for. But I think in general, on a personal level, like many of the people who listen to the show, this is me trying to build the group of people that I was always looking for, right? In line with that whole notion that I talk about, if you don't see it, create it. So, with the book being out and community always being at the center of everything that I do, in particular with this project with the book, because it goes beyond just the book itself, but Just Be becoming a brand, an extension of myself that I'm looking to invite the community to be a part of. I thought it'd be really important to do an episode today talking about community, right? And what that means and why it's so incredibly important and what we're building here. And I just think in general, discussing how we can each feel a little bit less alone in this crazy world that we exist in, right? So, man, we're gonna be talking about, how this project kind of came together, but also what I'm looking to build and what I am hoping to find, in these projects. And I'm hoping that you're gonna be a part of that, in feeling like there is a safe space that we can all come together, And of course with the podcast it's tough because I don't see you guys listening to it or hear you guys. I'm not in the same room. We're not having a conversation, So I'm always looking to expand, how I can and touch the people who resonate with the things that I'm creating, but also more importantly, again, the people that I've been searching for such a long time. And then beyond that, in the Latin community, I think we oftentimes have grown up, or our parents, the previous generations, and we've talked about this a bunch, like in survival mode, right? And many of us no longer have to live that way, or we're recognizing that even if we're on our grind, even if we're building right now, there needs to be space for the good, right? There needs to be a balance, that we need to take care of our health, both physical and mental. And that, the idea of wellness and spirituality, like that shit is not just for, man, stay-at-home moms who live in expensive towns and go to yoga 5 days a week and shop at Lululemon, right? And no shade to anybody who fits into any one of those categories, but I just think this notion, this idea of wellness, much like many of the things in history, our people are oftentimes left out of that, right? Like we are, man, accustomed because of the way we grow up, that things like therapy are only for rich white people, just pray it away and you'll be fine. Or, we've probably, many of us, been accustomed to seeing our parents work multiple jobs or work crazy hours, just to make ends meet, and never take, real time for themselves to recoup, they're always having to be on their grind, be it for the family or to put, food on the table, which obviously both are intertwined. But this idea of wellness, is crucial to our well-being and our health, specifically our mental health. Burnout is real. As much as I love people like Gary Vee, I also think that the hardcore side of it, of like always be on your grind, always be doing this, is not a healthy recipe for someone. We need to take breaks. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to have wellness routines that allow us to kind of be grounded and to sort of nourish ourselves mentally, And that's what I'm trying to build right now, is like this safe space where we can all see ourselves, as people who can nourish, our minds and understand the importance of taking care of ourselves mentally, and why practices like meditation have survived hundreds of years, right? Because it allows us to be grounded, allows us to calm ourselves, to center ourselves, the idea of presence, cultivating presence, enjoying the present moment. I mean, that's what Just Be itself is all about, and we'll get into a bunch of that stuff. I kind of want to save myself from a tangent, but we're going to dive into a lot of that. And I think what this whole concept that I'm trying to build and it being centered around community, what that means for all of us. Now, it's also Black History Month, so I want to honor somebody who's been a huge inspiration for me, and I thought that this would be a great episode to do it in the context of community, because this person was all about their community, and it's incredibly inspiring. And I've definitely taken a page out of their book. So we'll honor them for Black History Month in our Mi Gente segment. But first, let's just kind of do this deep dive into the idea of community and wellness for our people. Even though we were, never brought up thinking that we'd be able to make time for ourselves, or viewing that might be a selfish thing, right, in many families. So let's just do that deep dive in a segment we call For the People in the Back.
Say it louder for the people in the Say it louder for the people in the back.
The best way to start this off would be just reading a page from the book, right? And this is actually the last page in the book, and it is what really I felt like kind of would be a good launching point for this conversation, because it is about community. And this is, of course, like I said, an excerpt from my book, Just Be, which you can pre-order right now at justbe.nyc. But in the book, I say community is everything. And I say that as someone who allowed resentment to make him believe that he didn't need anyone else. The older I get, the more I realize how inherently human the idea of community is, and how essential it is to our fulfillment. It's the reason why people become so fanatical around things like religion, political affiliation, and sports. The reality is that we all subconsciously long to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. I find there to be something so inherently beautiful in this fact that we each share in a longing for connection with like minds. And beyond that, there's a beauty in recognizing that whether you're aware or not, you are inherently a member of a community just by interacting with the things or people you're naturally drawn to. Take even these words that you're currently reading. The fact is, there is someone else out there who shares in similar ideology to you that also felt compelled to pick up this book. And whether you ever meet in person or not, you are all forever connected. So when life hits you hard, or you feel like no one understands where you're coming from, just revisit these words and use them as a means to remember the fact that you are most definitely not alone. And I'm be real, like, I wrote this page, and I'm still having like an emotional charge as I read it, right? Because I think that so much comes up for me in that feeling of thinking that you're alone, right? Or feeling like you're alone. And I still go through that right now, even with all the work that I've done. Those feelings do creep up at times. I mean, to be perfectly honest, before I hit record, I was feeling that way a little bit. And then just reading that and remembering that I'm most definitely not alone, right? Taking my own fucking advice here. The fact that I am speaking these words and that someone else is going to listen, and someone else who's a like-minded individual, right? That's so comforting. The fact that I have something that I share with someone else whom I may never meet. Maybe I haven't met that person. I don't know every single one of you who listen to the podcast. I haven't had the pleasure of getting to speak with each one of you, but knowing that we're all intertwined, knowing that, while you're listening to this, someone else across the world is listening to the same exact thing. You may not even speak the same language or come from a completely different, sort of walk of life, but you all share in the want to be better, right? To want to feel a part of something. And that's what this podcast is all about. And again, that's what everything I do is all about. It's community. I know what it's like to be a kid growing up who never felt like he truly fit in somewhere and had to change, parts of himself, leave parts of himself out just to be a part of a group. Even in the back of my mind, knowing that I was not really a member of that, right? And I searched so long for like-minded individuals, and I think that that's so much of what my career has been. I always thought it was a passion for music, which I do obviously love, but I think the bigger why for me was music put me around like-minded individuals, people who dreamed big, people who appreciated art, people who were creative, who thought outside the box, right? I mean, you have to if you're crazy enough to think that you're going to make a career out of music or something creative in general, right? They were the outcasts, and very much so how I felt, and I kept trying to recreate community in everything that I did, and I'm lucky that working in a creative field, you kind of begin to fall into those things. But for me, recognizing that there has to be something deeper than just the fact that we create things or we create similar things or we have similar taste, right? Like what I want to build and what's important to me is like a legacy that helps progress our people, right? Beyond entertaining you, I want to bring us all together and create a real movement that has real change. And it doesn't have to be change in the form of, being written in the history books or being talked about on television. But if I can be a part of changing the way that the next generation is raised and destroying some of the negative narratives that many of us grew up with, that's incredible. That's something to be proud of, right? Especially how I kind of started today's conversation. I can guess for many of you, like for me, growing up in a Latin household, a family of color and people who weren't overly privileged financially, the idea of taking care of yourself, your mental health, your wellness, having a wellness routine, talking about your feelings, none of that was really encouraged, right? That seems like a whole nother fucking world. I've told the story many times about when I, had to ask my mom to help me get a therapist, and that being the biggest deal in the world, right? Which sounds absolutely crazy by my own standards today, which I think many of my generation would agree with. Like the idea that I want to talk to a professional to help me work out my thoughts and feelings, like the idea that would be something shunned to the point that I'd be nervous to talk to those closest to me about it, right? And what I want and what I hope for in all that I'm doing and inherently by you listening to this and supporting it in any way that you do, you're a part of that, is by breaking those chains, is by creating a movement that we pass on to the next generation and so on and so forth, right? We are the future of our community. We are the ones who will represent Latinos for the decades to come. That next generation will continue to carry on the baton. And it's up to us, like I've always said, that we shed the ideals that no longer serve us. And what I've begun to realize is that, as somebody who has workaholic tendencies, when I'm out of balance, out of whack, when I'm not taking time to be present, and just being in the moment, like I'm not happy. Doesn't matter what financial success I'm having, the pats on the back, the outside validation. If I'm burnt out, from not taking care of myself mentally, if I am, quickly moving on to the next thing and not savoring and being being and not savoring the moment or being grateful for it, I'm not really happy. My mental health takes a hit there, right? That's when my depression begins to kick in. And that's what I want to be able to build with all that I'm talking about, right? This book being the start for that. And the cool thing about this book is it's one of 4 that I'm going to be releasing this year. And they'll all, follow a sort of similar idea, right? At the center of it, again, it's community. It's all of us coming together behind the goal of wanting to progress our culture and to take care of our culture and to make sure the next generation takes care of themselves. And, these 4 books are going to be like, it's just me being vulnerable. It's journal entries. It's my thoughts on life, what I'm feeling, me being honest in hopes that it makes you feel more seen, in hopes that it allows you to be more present to the beauty of life, So they're going to be, like I said, so, each one will be released quarterly. They're kind of like shorter books mixed with pictures, for my own personal photography, which is something I've always loved about photography, and specifically film photography. It's not instant gratification. You take the pictures, you wait till you're done with the roll, you go get it developed. That takes a couple weeks in today's day and age. You get the photos back, you're excited, the anticipation of driving to go pick them up. And then you get in the car, you're going through them, and some of them suck and you're disappointed. Some of them are really cool, but they're all just like moments in time, and you can physically hold those moments in time. And that's what I love about them. And that's what I was trying to cultivate with the book. I could have just released like an ebook or posted these pictures on Instagram, but to me, that didn't have real meaning. It didn't honor the beauty of life, the moments that were captured in the pictures and the writing. So with that said, if you're interested, I'm doing a subscription with that where you get all 4 books. You can get a free t-shirt. And I'm also giving away for anybody who buys a subscription, because I know it is a little pricey. It's $99. You get all 4 books, the t-shirt, like I said. I'm also going to be doing one-on-one, Zoom calls with anybody who signs up for the 1-year subscription, essentially, for this. And we can talk about whatever you want. Advice on life. You can pick my brain. We can just have a conversation. I'm just trying to find ways to connect on a deeper level with those who support me, but also support this larger idea that I'm trying to be a part of, and that is building a community that is dedicated to progressing our culture. And there's a bunch of like shirts and merch. There's a really dope sweater that kind of like is a dedication to the love and inspiration that the city of New York brings me. It's got a really dope quote from the book on the back. I'm not trying to get too infomercially. I also have this problem that I've noticed, and I just share this to push anybody else who may be going with who might be struggling with a similar thing. Is I spend all this time creating and working really hard and making things that I love, and then I put them out there, and because I don't have a great deal of confidence in myself, because I don't want to be asking others or feel like I'm being braggadocious or desperate, whatever it might be, or I'm just self-conscious of a larger audience hearing my work or seeing my work. I don't promote my stuff as well as I should. I kind of just throw it out there, and whoever finds it, But I've also realized that I'm not honoring the time and effort that I put into the creation of this thing, right? By me not trying to share it with as many people as possible, I am not honoring myself. And I think also on a bigger scale, without sounding pompous, I'm depriving the world of the message that I believe I was put here to share. So that is why I'm maybe pushing this a little bit harder than other things I've done in the past. But I just think it's important to honor myself and also make sure that anybody who needs to receive it is getting the message that I'm putting out there, is connecting with it, right? So, I have a lot of plans for the grander vision for this. This is just kind of the start, but the Just Be brand, which I'm operating with my girlfriend, our goal is to bring the idea of spirituality and wellness to a community that didn't think they had time or space for that. That we're told that that's just for people of privilege. This isn't for you. You're not worthy of taking care of yourself. You're not worthy of a day off. You're not worthy of having just one job that pays you an adequate salary so that you can go home and spend time with your family. I'm speaking to, we want to speak to those of you who grew up that way, right? Who were told to pray away your problems, who were told that being vulnerable was a weakness. That's what we're trying to build with Just Be. I want to build a community of people who are dedicated to making themselves better, knowing that in doing so, they're also progressing our culture and creating a better future for every Latino or every person of color or every person in general, whomever you are. As a world, we are slacking when it comes to the idea of wellness and taking care of oneself. And it's up to us to set the standard for the next generation. So I'll get off my soapbox in regards to that. But, that's what I'm trying to build with all this. So, The book, the merchandise, everything is self-funded, self-publishing the book. I designed everything myself. The merchandise I designed myself, and I'm really proud of it. And my goal with all this stuff is always larger than just myself. I'm working on my production company, Mind of a Young Lord, and the goal with that is, right now we use the momentum I have with my different creative projects, but then the goal, is to do the same for other Latino creatives. Passing the baton down, being able to use my knowledge and experience and help others live out their dream. So this right here is the first sort of stepping stone. This is me trying to build the ship that will eventually carry all of us. And you picking up a book, a T-shirt, subscribing, a package, whatever you can afford, like that contributes towards building this ship, right? Towards building the city, the world that our tribe desperately needs, right? And that's the way I see this whole thing. Beyond a community, I want to build a tribe of people, who are honoring their ancestors, but also honoring each other. In a world that loves to pit us against one another, loves to tell us we aren't good enough as is, loves to tell us that being different is bad, vulnerability is a weakness. I'm trying to build a tribe of people who can fight against that, who come together to support one another. And I'm not trying to have delusions of grandeur with the things that I'm putting out there, but all of them do represent a step in that direction. Your support allows me to, like I said, continue building upon that and to pass the baton down. So and with that, I hope and believe that you're going to get something out of it. I really put my heart into this book. It's my heart on paper, and it's my thoughts on life, many of my philosophies on life, and written with the intention of getting it off my chest, but more importantly, knowing that it could be helpful to other people and it could inspire others. justbe.nyc, that is the website, justbe.nyc. Or if you follow me on Instagram at DJ Dramos, I have the link in my bio. Now, with that said, I know it's super self-promoting. I hope it didn't come across that way. I'm really, really mean this, what I say about community and building this tribe together. I have a lot of really dope plans to try and bring us together in a more, one-on-one type of sense. Again, if you get the subscription, I'd love to chat with you one-on-one and we can talk about whatever you want. But on a bigger scale, I want to make this a real live community, a tribe of people who can communicate with one another, that I can communicate with, freely, digitally, and then hopefully in person events as we continue to grow this thing. Hopefully as the projects begin to do well, I can then kind of, go out there and reach people on a larger scale. That's always going to be the goal. But it starts here, with this first thing. This is my first big project that I think is a step in the direction of building the future that I want to see for all of us. So if you can support it, I would greatly appreciate that. justbe.nyc. And man, with that said, I also want to honor somebody for Black History Month who has been a gigantic inspiration to this whole notion, and whose story I think would be really inspirational for anyone who has an idea, a dream, you want to build something. This person has had a profound impact on my life, even though I never got a chance to speak with him directly. So we'll honor him for Black History Month in our Mi Gente segment. Mi Gente! All right, so this person for me, and it's not going to come as a shocker if you've been following my content for a decent amount of time, it's Nipsey Hussle. And, I think for a lot of people, when he was murdered and that news broke, there were a lot of people who maybe weren't familiar with the work of Nipsey Hussle and who sort of think that we are aggrandizing the person or his accomplishments. And I think for those who believe that, you're sadly missing out on the legacy of this man and the profound impact that he's had on so many people, myself included. And I think this is what I'm talking about in general, right? Maybe Nipsey Hussle wasn't yet the biggest rapper in the world, right? And I very well believe he could have been, but as a human being, he lit the fire for so many other people, myself included. My story is forever intertwined with his because of the inspiration he gave me through his content, through his words, his story in general, his lived experience, and his want and need to share that. And also the things that he did inside of his actual community, right? As we talk about this notion of community. Nipsey Hussle was someone who, when he got money, he didn't forget about the place that he came from. Now, of course, sadly, much of that led to his untimely death, but more importantly, he put a community on the map, right? That Crenshaw area, and had plans for creative spaces, which I believe one of them actually did launch recently, where young creatives who don't have much money or resources can go to a space and learn how to record music or learn arts or collaborate with other like-minded creative individuals, right? He bought back the shopping plaza that he used to hustle out of the parking lot of, right? He, rented out storefronts to other local businesses from the area, many of which are from his own community, the Black community. He employed people from the community. He was planning on so many other things to build up his area and to have people feel a sense of pride in the place that they come from, right? People who were forgotten by their city, by the world, who had, the least amount of resources, who nobody really gave a fuck about. You had this person who never stopped seeing them as human beings, never stopped seeing himself in them, and never forgot the importance of building a legacy and doing your best to uplift your community. And that's been wildly inspirational for me. Specifically, he did it independently for so long. He self-released mixtape after mixtape, his clothing company, the Marathon, all of these different things, and his road was a really long one. And he's somebody, and that part I really resonate with as well. I'm someone who I just turned 35. I've had a really long road to even get to this point, and I feel like I'm just getting started. And Nipsey was somebody who, had a decade in the industry before anything really happened for him. He had been signed to record labels, got dropped, in and out of jail for various things. He had to grow as a person. He had to, force himself to grow spiritually. He was dedicated to that. But again, even in success, even in his growth, always knew that community and uplifting others had to be a focal point of everything that he did. He literally put his section of LA on the map, right? With the Crenshaw sweatshirts and all that kind of stuff. With his clothing company, he made Crenshaw a destination for people to go shop because they want to go to his clothing store, the Marathon. And to me, I'm just bringing these things up as hopefully someone who can inspire you, right? And just honoring a person who I know did so much for so many people that he didn't even know. And I think that's how we have to all start thinking of life in general. And when I talk about community, that's what I mean. We all don't have to come into physical contact with one another, even though I'd love to meet all of you, but we don't have to actually meet one another in order to have an impact on each other's lives. Something I do and somebody sees it, or, somebody whose mind maybe I change and they go and interact with somebody else. And that's, our stories are then forever intertwined. That's what I mean by building community, building this tribe, because the work we do on ourselves, becoming better individuals, pushing ourselves for growth, taking care of ourselves, with the knowledge that this is going to allow us to present the best version of ourselves to the world and to those that matter most to us. All of that work, I truly believe it's like a domino effect. It can't help but be felt by those around us, by the people that we come into contact with. If for anybody who used to work in retail, I know I did. If you're having a shitty day, a customer just pissed you off, or a real asshole, and then you have just the nicest person in the world, it restores your faith just a little bit, right? It helps you go on with your day in a better mood, and you're forever changed by that, right? Regardless of how small of an interaction it is, that person had an impact on, be it a small part of your life, but they still did. And I think that's what all of us have to recognize, that we're doing here. Whether we like it or not, everything that we do represents our community, represents our culture, right? That's one of the burdens of being a person of color, is that we don't exist in a vacuum. A white person can go do a crime and they're just the person that did the crime, right? They are John Smith from down the street who did some crazy shit. One of us, a person of color, a Latin person, a black person, one of us does something wrong. They say, oh, look at what they're doing now. This is why we can't give them this. Whether we like it or not, we represent an entire community of people. So us as individuals, pushing ourselves to be better, coming together with the common idea in some way of coming together, whatever it might be. Again, doesn't have to be physical. Could just be supporting a movement that will then inspire others, right? But us coming together in some way, shape, or form does create an impact, because we all represent something so much larger than ourselves. And the future generation is counting on us to do the work in order to grow. And again, I bring up Nipsey Hussle because he is somebody that I never got a chance to have a conversation with, sadly. But just from him living his life, his experiences, and him sharing them, those things have allowed me to grow as an individual. They've inspired me to want to do something similar and to help others in a similar way. And that fire he's lit under me will continue for the rest of my life, and will be felt in every interaction that I have with anybody for the rest of my life. His energy is forever a part of me. And you don't have to be a famous person to have that sort of impact. Again, I'm talking about in your everyday life. I think energy is a real thing. The people that we come into contact with, the way we treat them, the way we raise our kids, the way we speak to our family, the way that we express forgiveness, the way that we show vulnerability so that others can feel comfortable. All of that has a profound effect, far larger than any of us can imagine. And it creates this domino effect, right? And it can go the other way as well. Us being shitty, us not pushing past negative mindsets or negative lessons that we were taught, carrying them on and then passing them on to the next generation, that also has a domino effect. So it's up to us to make a choice. What kind of effect do we want to have? Because whether we want to or not, we're going to have some sort of effect that is larger than ourselves. So it should be a positive one. It should be breaking the generational curses, the traumas, the chains, the nonsensical ideas, things like telling us we aren't able to take care of ourselves. That's only for someone else. All of that is bullshit. All of that only holds us back. All of that only sets off a chain reaction, domino effect of negative things for others. And again, that's what I want to be the larger message of everything that I do and everything that you support just by listening to this or picking up the book, whatever it is, showing somebody, applying something that you are inspired by me or that you learn from me and applying it to your life. Like, all of that is the work that we need to do as a community if we want to have a positive effect. Because again, good or bad, whether we like it or not, our mere existence, living day to day, we are going to have an effect on this world. And it's something that we need to keep in mind. And I want to build a group of people, a tribe that comes together, that is dedicated to making sure that the effect that we're leaving is a positive one. So rest in peace to the late, great Nipsey Hussle. I would definitely recommend checking out. There's a biography on his life. I read it on Audible, and it was just wildly inspiring. Okay, I found it. So it's called The Marathon Don't Stop, The Life and Times of Nipsey Hussle. It is written by Rob Kenner, and it's on Audible. I actually listened to this book, but there's also a physical copy on Amazon.com that you can pick those up as well. But I just recommend it. I think it's an inspiring story for anybody. But to show you that it doesn't matter where you came from, doesn't matter the odds that are stacked against you, doesn't matter what the world thinks of you and the people that come from the area you grew up in. If you are committed to excellence, you're committed to growing as a human being and to leaving, the world a better place than where you found it. The sky is the limit for you, and you can do anything that you want in this life. Now, with that said, let's kind of tie everything we talked about today in a neat little bow in a segment we call Conclusions.
Time for conclusions soon.
All right, so I kind of went into a bit of what I would have kind of used as my summary in that Mi Gente segment, but I just think overall, man, the one thing I really want you to take away from this is that as human beings, we all yearn to be a part of something, right? whether we realize it consciously or not. And so many of us grow up feeling lost in this world, like we don't have anywhere we can fit in, we don't have anywhere we can be ourselves, particularly in our community. We can't express ourselves fully, right? We're not allowed to. We can't show weakness. We can't show vulnerability. You know, we can't take time or space for ourselves, right? There's too much work to be done. Our parents sacrificed too much for that, right? I think it's really important to just slow the fuck down. And that's like, in addition to community, that's also one of the messages of this project, this book and everything attached to it, Just Be the brand itself. Just Be comes from something I learned when I went away to my spiritual retreat, the Hoffman process last year. And it was something that stuck out to me. They're talking about the idea of cultivating presence and how important that is. And they just, repeat this phrase of just be, right? Like whatever you're doing, whomever you're with, just be. Be in the present moment. Enjoy it. Experience it. Don't worry about other things. Whatever you're creating, just be in it. You're with your family. Just be. You don't need to be on the phone. You don't need to document every single stupid thing that happens in your life. Like just enjoy it. Enjoy the moment and really feel it. And it was something that I wrote down in my journal when I had left the retreat, and I just wrote those two words down in my journal and just kept revisiting those two words over and over, and they had such a profound impact on me that I knew I needed to figure out a way to share it with the world. And that's kind of the other caveat to this whole project. And then, of course, like we talk about the idea of community, we all have a place out there. And I think anybody listening to this, especially those of you who listen to it on a consistent basis, like we all share in obviously not everything, but we are cut from the same cloth. We're committed to growth. We are committed to our culture, towards elevating and progressing it, right? Towards becoming better for both ourselves and those around us. And that's the community that I want to be a part of. It's the one that I've been searching for my entire life. And it's now the one that I'm trying to build and expand upon, beyond just this podcast. I want to truly build a tribe of people that not only interact with me, but can interact and inspire each other. That's the whole idea, and so many other things down the line that I want to be able to do to actually really bring that to life. And again, this is just the start. And this start, while it's my name on the book and I'm the face of it right now, the intention is to be able to build, like I said, a ship that it takes all of us on. Anybody who is of the community, who is a creative, or anybody who just needs inspiration. Like I want you to be able to call, this company and the larger company that eventually happens with Mind of a Young Lord. Like I want you to be able to call that home. I want it to be a vessel to help, make the dreams of people in our community, make those dreams come true, help bring your ideas to life, and not make us feel like we aren't able to truly be happy, that we have to take the safe route, that, our immigrant parents, sacrifice too much for us to just go and do some art or do whatever it is that makes us happy. I want to break those chains, because again, whether we realize it or not, whether we like it, whether we do something good or bad, we have an effect on the world. There will be a domino effect to each and everything that we do or don't do. So why not make the decision to be the best version of yourself, to be somebody who leaves a positive impact, a positive legacy that inspires others, that teaches others, valuable lessons, not just nonsense that's been passed down from generation to generation that doesn't actually serve any real purpose, but real things, real lessons that produce happy and fulfilled individuals. And that's what I'm trying to build with all of this. That's what I'm inviting you to be a part of. And I'm trying to figure out ways to bring us all together, to be accountable, to be able to lean on one another, to make sure that we're living life in accordance to what we deserve and what we truly want. And that's really what is at the heart of this community, of this tribe, that this is the beginning of. So if you want to be a part of that, you want to help build that, you want to help have that positive domino effect that hopefully inspires or teaches others or helps, lift others up. This is what I'm offering, and this is what I'm trying to do with this endeavor. And this is the start of it. And I really hope that in some way, whatever way you can, that you choose to be a part of it. If that's the case, justbe.nyc. That's the website. At DJ Dramos on Instagram. The link is in my bio. Contribute in any way that you can. If you can't afford anything right now, I understand. I would genuinely be happy with you just sharing it in some way. Share it with somebody who you think could get something out of it, who needs a little inspiration, who maybe wants to be a part of that positive impact. Like, again, if you can't afford the book, afford a t-shirt, I completely understand. Whatever you can do to help make sure that people are receiving this message will always be greatly appreciated on my end. So thank you so much for tuning into another episode. I love giving you a bit of insight into what are my grander ideas for all that we're building. But also, I think more importantly, I want to make sure that you remember that you are most definitely not alone. Anybody listening to this, the thousands of people that do on a weekly basis, myself included, as far as being a part of these ideas, we're all sharing in these same concepts, the same want for growth, and the same yearning that we have to feel close to our culture, to a community, and building a tribe with the end goal. All of us being able to come together as a strong, unified group that I am calling a tribe. So again, by listening to this, remember that you are not alone in whatever it is that you're going through in life, whatever it is that you're searching for, whatever you're yearning for. All of us are in this together, and this is your safe space that you can come to, and I'm trying to build it so that we can continue interacting, you can continue being inspired, and then hopefully eventually have your voice heard in some way, shape, or form. That's it. I'm gonna stop droning on. Man, thank you so much again for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Everybody's love and support has been so amazing. I'm so passionate about this whole thing, and I really can't wait for you to read it, to feel it, to touch it, to hear it. So again, pre-orders for everything, the book, the year-long subscription, the merchandise, the shirts, the t-shirts, we got beanies, and a really dope sweatshirt. It's all part of a bundle that comes with the book. It's all available for pre-order right now. JustBe, JUSTBE.NYC. That's the website. I love y'all. Thank you for the support. And I'll catch y'all on Thursday for our Thursday Trends episode. Till then, stay safe. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.